Good evening. Today is Sunday, July 19th. Day is slowly coming to an end. The noise of the world is becoming quieter. People are returning home. Streets are becoming calmer. And maybe for the first time today you finally have a memento be alone with yourself. Maybe today was a good day, maybe today was difficult, maybe nothing special happened, and yet you still feel tired. Sometimes do not need a terrible day to feel exhausted. Sometimes are simply tired because we have been trying for too long. We'll wake up, we'll go to work or take care of our families, answer messages, will solve problems, will smile, say we are fine, and then continue even when something inside you is quietly asking you to stop it. Life does not always stop when we are tired. There are still responsibility, are still things to do, are still people will need you, so we keep moving. Even when our hearts feel heavy, even when our minds feel completely exhausted, and sometimes no one notices. No one knows how much energy it takes for you to simply get through the day. Maybe Samin asked you, are you okay? And you say I am fine, because saying I am tired would take too much energy. Saying I am sad would require an explanation, and sometimes you do not even know how to explain what you feel. You simply know that something inside you feels heavy. Maybe you are not broken, maybe you are just tired, maybe you are not lost, maybe you have simply been walking for a very long time without giving yourself a chance to rest. Were often taught to always be positive, to always be strong, to always solve problems, to always look confident, to always keep moving forward. But no one can be strong every single day. No one can be happy every single day. No one knows exactly what they are doing every single day. Even the strongest people have moments when they feel weak. Even the happiest people have nights when they feel lonely. Even the most successful people have moments when they question themselves. So if you are tired tonight, there is nothing wrong with you. If you feel lost tonight, there is nothing wrong with you. If you need to cry tonight, there is nothing wrong with you. You are human, and being human means that you cannot always be okay. You are allowed to have a bad day. You are allowed to feel disappointed. You are allowed to feel confused. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to stop pretending that everything is perfect. You do not need to explain your feelings to everyone. You do not need to prove that you have a reason to feel sad. Your feelings do not need permission to exist. You can be grateful and still feel tired. You can love your life and still need a break. You can have people who love you and still feel lonely. You can be strong and still cry. These things can exist together. You do not have to choose only one. You are allowed to be complicated. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to change. There may have been a time in your life when you thought you knew exactly what you wanted. You knew where you were going. You knew who you were, but life changed. People change, dreams change, and you change to some person you are. Becoming feels unfamiliar, and that can be frightening because we often believe that we should always know who we are, but maybe not knowing is also part of becoming. Maybe are still discovering what matters to you. Maybe you are still learning what you will no longer accept. Maybe you are still learning how to protect your peace. Maybe you are still learning what kind of life you truly want, and that is okay. You do not have to figure everything out tonight. You do not have to know where you will be 5 years from now. You do not have to have a perfect plan. You only need to take of next steps. Metamesh next step is very small: getting out of bed, taking a shower, going to work, eating something, answering one massage, simply making it through the day. Do not underestimate small steps. A small step is still progress. A slow journey is still a journey. Symmetry may feel that nothing is changing, but perhaps you are changing in ways that no one can see. You are learning to say no. You are learning to protect your energy. You are learning to stop explaining yourself. You are learning to walk away from things that once destroyed you. You are learning to choose peace over being right. You are learning to forgive yourself, and these things may not look impressive from the outside, but they can change your entire life. Growth does not always look like success. It looks like a not sending the message you wanted to send. Symmetrical growth looks like walking away instead of staying. Symmetrical looks like admitting that something is no longer good for you. Symmetrical growth looks like accusing yourself. Even when you feel guilty, many of us were taught to put everyone else first, were taught to be helpful, to be pretty, to make people happy, but somewhere along the way forgot that we are also people who also have needs, also have limits, also need care. You cannot give everything to everyone and expect nothing inside you to become empty. You cannot keep giving every part of yourself away and then wonder why there is nothing left. You are allowed to have boundaries. You are allowed to protect your time. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to say cannot do this to die. You are allowed to say need some time alone. You are allowed to say do not want to talk. You are allowed to say now without writing a long explanation. You do not have to make everyone understand your boundary. Is a boundary is simply a decision about what you can and cannot accept. Some people may become upset when you start protecting yourself not because you are doing something wrong, but because they were comfortable when you had no boundaries. They were comfortable when you always said yes. They were comfortable when you always made yourself available. You cannot spend your entire life making other people comfortably, making yourself miserable. You are allowed to choose peace even if someone else does not understand. You are allowed to choose yourself even if someone else calls you selfish. There is a difference between being selfish and taking care of your own life. You can be kind and still say no. You can love people and still walk away. You can forgive someone and still not trust them again. You can wish someone well and still understand that they do not belong in your life anymore. Not every person who leaves your life is a tragedy. Some people are simply part of a chapter, and when the chapter ends you have to let it end. And hold on because we are afraid of what comes next. To hold on to relationships hurt us because the pain feels familiar. Or hold on to old dreams because we are afraid to admit it. We no longer want them, but you are alawedto change, you are alawedto become a different person. You are alawedto outgrowth process that once felt like home. You are alawedto outgrowth people you once believed you could never live without. You are alawedto discover that what you wanted years ago no longer what you want today. Life is not supposed to remain exactly the same. Neither are you mesh life you truly want is much simpler than the life you were taught to desire. Maybe do not need more, maybe you need lessless, noiseless, pressureless, pretendingless, comparisonless, fair maybe happiness coming home after a long day in finale, feeling safe, maybe pippiness, a warm meal, a quiet room, peaceful evening. Samin who truly cares and a heart that can finally rest. Maybe a good life does not need to look impressive to anyone else. Maybe a good life is simply a life that does not constantly make you to raid. A life where you can breathe. A life where you can be quiet without feeling guilt. A life where you can rest without feeling that you should be doing more. A life where you can come home and be yourself without having to perform for anyone. You spend so much of our lives trying to impress people. We do not even know people who may not remember USA year from now will spend years chasing approval from people who are busy thinking about their own lives, and meanwhile who forget to ask ourselves here. We are happy who forget to ask ourselves here. We are tired who forget to ask ourselves here. The life you are building is actual life. Life you want to live. Maybe tonight you can ask yourself, if nobody judged me, you had, would I choose? If nobody expected anything from you, had, would I do? If I did not have to prove anything to anyone, what would my life look like? You may not even answer, and that is okay. You do not need to change your entire life tonight. You do not need to quit everything. You do not need to make a dramatic decision. Cementitious first step is simply admitting the truth. I am tired. He wants something different. He need a change. I do not know hat comes next, but I know he cannot keep living exactly like this. The beginning of a new life. Maybe you are not lost. Maybe you are simply in the middle of becoming a new old version of your life. No longer fits, but the new version has not arrived yet. That space can feel empty, it can feel lonely, it can feel frightening, but do not rush to fill the emptiness with something that does not belong. Give yourself to discover what you truly need. Some seasons are meant for growth, some seasons are meant for learning, some seasons are meant for rest, some seasons are meant for simpler serving. There is nothing wrong with that. You do not have to bloom every dive in natural seasons. There are seasons of growth and seasons of stillness. There are seasons when everything falls. Olivian seasons when everything looks quiet, but quiet is not me. Nothing is happening summertifely. Is happening beneath the surface in ways you cannot yet see. Maybe you are growing even now. Maybe you are becoming stronger even though you feel weak. Maybe you are healing even though some days still hurt. Healing does not happen all at once. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel tired again, some days you think you have moved on. And Athena memory brings everything back. That does not mean you have gone backward. It simply means you are human. You can remember some thing returning to it You can miss someone without needing to go back. You can love someone and still know that they are not good for your life. You can forgive and still have boundaries. You can remember past without living inside if past is part of your story, but it is not the entire story. There are still chapters ahead you have not read, you have not met. You have not read all the chapters that are still ahead. You have not met all the people who will love you. You have not seen all the places that will make you feel alive. You have not experienced all the mornings that will surprise you. You have not become ill. The versions of yourself that are still waiting to be discovered. So do not decide that your story is over just because this chapter is difficult. A difficult chapter is still only a chapter. It is not entire book. Maybe you are in a season of uncertainty. Maybe you are lonely. Maybe you are rebuilding. Maybe you are starting over, and starting over can be painful, but starting over is not failure, is cementing trees. Over is proof that you finally goes yourself. You may have lost time, but you have not lost your entire future. You may have made mistakes, but you are not your mistakes. You may have failed, but you are not a failure. You may have lost someone, but you are not lost. You may have been rejected, but you are not unwanted. You may have been abandoned, but you are not unworthy. What happened to you does not decide everything that can happen for you. There is still possibility, there is still hope, even if you cannot feel it tonight. Semetimasp is simply waking up tomorrow. Semitimas is believing that things can be different even when you do not know how. You do not need to see the entire road. You only need to take the next step, and if you cannot take the next step tonight, then rest is also part of the journey. Look round and remember how far you have already come. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you are not where you used to be. That matters. Use focus so much on what is missing that we forget to notice what is already quiet evening. The warm, mild, familiar voice of people we love. Small moments often ignorethos are also leveso. Do not wait for everything to become perfect before allowing yourself to be happy. Life may never be perfect, but there can still be peace. Can still be meaning. Fear can still be small moments worth appreciating. Eternity do not need to solve your entire life. You do not need to know what happens tomorrow. You do not need to have all the answers. You only need to take care of yourself tonight. You have done enough. You have tried enough. You have carried enough for one day. Let goof what you cannot change. Let goof the mistakes that have already happened. Let goof the pressure. Be everything for everyone. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to want peace, and you are allowed to live a life that feels good, even if it does not look impressive to anyone else's. Sometimash best life is not the loudest life. It is simply a life where your heart can finally breathe. So tonight, if you are tired, rest. If you are sad, cry. If you are confused, wait. If you are lost, take your time. You do not need to know everything tonight. You do not need to solve everything tonight. You only need to be here, and that is enough. Tomorrow you can try again. Tomorrow can begin again. Tomorrow can take on more step. But tonight you Can rest day is ending? No, whatever happened that has already happened. You cannot change today, but you do. Not a veto carry all of it into tomorrow. Leave the regret, leave the guilt, leave the fear. Leave the pressure. Tomorrow will have another chance as long as you are alive. There is still a possibility for something new, a new decision, a new direction, a new dream, a new version of yourself. You are not finished. You are still becoming, so be gentle with the person you are right now. You are doing the best you can with what you know, with what you have, and with everything you are carrying. Maybe one day you will look back at this moment and realize you were doing better than you thought, maybe was stronger than you believed, and maybe the fact that you kept going was already a beautiful achievement. So tonight, proud that you are still here. You are worthy of rest. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of another chance. Take a deep breath and let the day go. You have done enough. You have tried enough. You have carried in honor. Let yourself rest. Good night. Tomorrow begin again. It perfectly, not without fearing it. With all the answers, but with another chance, and some another chance is all we need.